Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel review where we talk about all things television and film from today and yesteryear. So I wanted to hop on here and do a brief recap of The Shy episode 1 and 2 from season 7. Okay, honey, when I tell you Alicia was not playing no games, y'all lay Rob on the doorstep like a UPS package and ma'am went out to find out who dropped him off. Okay, so she goes to Nuck's house, wake him up out his sleep and was like, "Are you the one that unalived my son?" He tells her no. And I'm like, okay. But not only does he tell Alicia that he did not do it, he gonna offer up his cousin. Like, dude, not only are you lying and playing in this woman's face, but you gonna have her after the wrong person when you know you were the one who sent Rob to be with the Grim Reaper. Mm, mm, mm. So Alicia, she goes home and she has to let Tiff know that Rob has been unalived. And of course, Tiff does not take it well. So, honey, Victor and his girlfriend are having a bit of a spat because she is on 10. She's like, I'm ready to get up out of Chicago. It's too much stuff going on in here. I do not feel safe after everything that happened with Robin. Victor's like, no, I got you. You ain't got to worry about nothing. I'm not going to let nothing happen to you. Nonetheless, they seemingly end up breaking up. Okay. So Bakari, he's still meeting up with the professor about his writing and things like that. And so the professor lets him know, hey, there's a scholarship that I may be able to swing, and get for you so you can go to college and not have to worry about where you're going to stay and what you're going to do. And that way you can focus more on your studies. And Bakari's like, well, I ain't even graduate high school. How can you do that? And he was like, well, my wife is a friend of the person who is over this particular scholarship. Now, mind you, Bakari used to work for Duda, and of course, the professor knows Duda. They had some type of history with one another. So now that Duda is no longer doodling, honey, okay, sir is with the Grim Reaper. The professor is trying to help Bakari go in another direction in his life instead of being in the streets. So everybody is checking on Tiff, just trying to make sure she's okay, dealing with the situation with Rob. And Jada, she takes out a moment to ask Tracy how she's doing because, Tracy and Duda had their little thing going on. And Tracy was like, she's okay. She said she just feels like Duda is just breaking her heart all over again, only this time he won't be back. And here we have a moment with Tiff and her mom. Her mom is consoling her and just basically letting her know everything is going to be okay. And Tiff is like, please don't tell me that. Please don't tell me everything is going to be okay. Please don't tell me that it's best to have loved and not to have loved at all. She's like, I don't really want to hear that. Just let me grieve. And what I did appreciate about this episode is we got to see her actually grieve Rob. You know what I'm saying? So I did appreciate that. So, honey, here we go with the pulpit pimp and Charles, okay, who used to study under the pulpit pimp, but they're basically discussing, I guess, what direction they're trying to take the church in. So Keisha, she goes to check on her girl Tiff, and they are having a conversation. She's just asking how she's doing. And Tiff was like, I can't eat, I can't sleep. I've been, vomiting and things like that. And when she said that, I knew what was up. I was like, oh yeah, she's definitely gonna be prego. Okay. And here is what we have the professor. He's talking to his wife, who is friends with Alicia, about Alicia's scholarship. He is asking his wife to see if Alicia would be willing to, give the scholarship to Bakari because he's like, I'm trying to get this kid out the streets. He's real smart. He got a lot going for himself. I'm just trying to get him out of the environment that he currently is in so he can, grow in life, basically. So Shad, he ends up meeting up with Bakari, doing somewhat of a check-in, but he's also trying to get information as to where Nuck's cousin is so he can deliver him on a platter for Alicia. Okay. So we get this moment where Nuck, he goes to pick up his son, and he and Emmett are sitting on the couch, and Nuck, he does something, and Emmett ends up flinching. And Nuck is like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, Emmett's like, man, folks been getting, put down left and right. You can't be too careful. So Emmett is flinching. His nerves are bad because of everything that didn't happen with Duda and now Rob. And, Nuck ends up inviting Emmett to go with him and his son. And then Emmett, of course, he's a little hesitant, like, nah, I'm cool. Y'all need to have y'all father-son time. He was like, yeah, you need to come on. And Keisha encourages Emmett to go along with Nuck and the baby. So they end up going to like this botanical type park place or whatever. Really cool, really cute place. And Emmett and Nuck end up having, a man to man type conversation. And Nuck is just basically saying to Emmett that he does not want his son to be like him. He was like, I just want to set a better example. I don't want him to be anything like me. I don't want him following in my footsteps. And he was like, how do I go about that? That's what he says to Emmett. And Emmett was like, you just basically change who you are. Like, just regroup. Like, it's nothing I can really tell you. It's what you're gonna do that's gonna make the difference. Honey, so Jake ends up running into Nuck's cousin Fist. Okay. Like, he literally went to go take the money back to the cousin because he was listening to his brother. Like, you don't want to have no doings with them. Like, if they giving you money, it's because they want you to do something for them in return. So Jake goes to take the money back to old boy, and he squares up on him and he beats his behind, basically. So when he gets back to the house, Jake is he's like explaining to his brother, like, I got into a little squabble. And he was like, well, who did it? Because Victor, like, ain't nobody about to run up on my brother and I don't know nothing about it. And he ends up telling him that it was Nuck's cousin. So Victor, being the big brother that he is and not playing the radio about his brother, he goes and he lets him know, if you ever put your hands on my brother again, I'm sending you to be with the Grim Reaper, point blank and the period. Okay. So Bakari meets up with Alicia to discuss the scholarship. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, am I lost? But does Bakari know that Alicia is Rob's mom? Maybe he does. I don't know. But anyway, so they're having a discussion, and Alicia basically asks him, why do you feel like you're worthy of the scholarship? And so Bakari gives her a little bit of background on him, and he also lets her know, that he'd been in the streets, that he did take someone's life before. And so Alicia, she kind of is like, okay. And Bakari, he's trying to be convincing to her, about the scholarship. He basically says to her, if you give me this scholarship, I promise you, you won't be disappointed, just basically letting her know that he won't take it for granted. And she just lets him know,
if I give you this scholarship, you owe me your life.
So Shaw gets a hold of Nuck's cousin, baby. And when I tell you the boy was shaking in his boots, honey, he did not know what was going on. And, Alicia confronted him and she was like, why did you unalive my son? And he was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, my son, Rob. And he was like, I'm not the one who unalived. And baby, before he can get them words out, Alicia let off like 5 rounds into him. And look at Bianca's face, because Bianca was like, oh my God. Because when I tell you, she did not give him any time to say anything. And even Shaw was like, hold on, hold on. He was about to say something, but she did not care. The only thing she was concerned about was getting rid of the person who she assumed got rid of her son. So, honey, they go back to the cigar lounge, and Bianca basically tells Alicia, like, this is too much. Like, honey, this is above my pay grade. I do not want to have any dealings with this. And Alicia was like, of course you don't. She said, this is just like you, to run away. Like, you just don't have it in you to deal with tough situations. And Bianca was like, honey, que sera, sera. Like, girl, I'm about to get up out of here. I don't have time for it. You can have the lounge, do whatever you want to with it, but you're not going to do it with me. Okay. So Alicia finally has a moment where she's breaking down over her son. She made the comment that I don't have time to rest or to break down until I get rid of the person that got rid of my son. Unfortunately, Alicia went down the wrong road, and the person she sent to be with the Grand Reaper is not the one who sent her son to be with him. Okay. And of course, we find out that Tiff is pregnant, which to me was no surprise, because when she said she could not sleep and she was throwing up, I was like, yeah, we're about to have a Rob Jr. on our hands. So Tiff, she lets Alicia know that she's pregnant, and Alicia is so happy. She was like, oh my God, this is such a blessing, that my son's legacy will carry on, or my legacy will carry on, basically, Alicia was saying. And she asked Tiff to move in with her. And Tiff was like, no, this is too much. Just like, no, you're family now. I want to make sure that you have a successful pregnancy or whatever. So I want you to live with me. And of course, Tiff goes along with what Alicia wants. So Emmett and his brother are having a little bro time, honey. They are at the barbershop getting their haircut, and they're having a conversation, and Emmett spots some nail polish on his brother's fingernails, and he was like, yo, what's up with that? And he's like, oh, I just like it. I thought it was pretty fine, cool. And Emmett was like, but you still like girls too, right? And he was like, yeah, I guess. And he goes and says something to the effect of he think he's just attracted to a person's energy. I was like, oh, okay. And so, honey, here we have Nuck talking to the pulpit pimp because Nuck is having buyer's remorse. Okay, like he literally made a permanent decision based on temporary feelings. Like you felt away because of how Rob talked to you, and Rob did not deserve the outcome of that. Like you were pressed. So you decided to unalive him, and now here you are dealing with the repercussions of your actions. And the preacher had to let him know you can't pay for a prayer. I mean, you can, but he was just basically letting us know it don't work like that. Like if you are seeking out God, this is not the way that you're going to do it because you feel like because you paying me a lump sum of money that all is going to be forgiven, and it does not work that way. So now Nook is stuck. Okay. So Lene is feeling away because her brother is moving in his girlfriend. And she was like, you didn't discuss this with me. Like, what are you doing? He was like, well, I asked her to move in. I want her to live here. And she was like, it don't work that way. We need to have a conversation. Okay. So Keisha, she goes over to help Tiff pack, and she's asking her, you sure you want to move in, with his mom? And she was like, yeah. And she tells Keisha that she's pregnant. And Keisha was like, what? Like, girl, are you serious? She's like, yeah, don't tell anybody. She said, well, you could tell Emmett. But yeah, I'm pregnant, and so that's why she's going to be living with Alicia. And of course, Keisha's like, "Girl, I can't believe both of us going to be waddling around here at the same time." She's like, "Yeah, I know." And Keisha's like, "Well, how are you doing? How are you feeling?" And basically, Tiff is like, just one day at a time. You know what I'm saying? But she does tell her that she's a little scared because, this she about to have a baby again, and she don't know what she's gonna do now that Rob, is no longer in the picture. And she says that he would have been so happy, to be having a kid with her. And Keisha, she does ask Tiff, she's like, well, you still want us to keep, your son? And she's like, yeah, I just don't want him to move him in. I don't want to move him in with me and Alicia right now, just to confuse him even more. So Keisha and Emmett are still going to be taking care of Tiff and Emmett's son. So, honey, Jake got him a little young Tinder over to the house, pretty girl, and she basically lets him know that she's really into him. And he was like, it ain't that type of party. You need to slow your roll or whatever. And so while he's sitting down talking to her, honey, I guess his phone rings or he gets a text message from the first lady. Okay. And Miss Girl right here, when she finds out that that is the pulpit pimp's wife, baby, she puts their whole situationship on blast on social media. Okay. So these two end up parting ways because she want to have a baby and he don't. He was like, "Look, Gemma is in college. I'm pretty much done. I don't want to have to raise no more kids." And he was like, "If you really want to have a baby, it's just not gonna be with me." And she basically tells him, "I'd rather have a baby on my own to be in a relationship with you and not have one." And he was like, "Dang, is it really that serious?" And she said, "It really is." So they decide to go their separate ways, as they should. Okay. So for whatever reason, honey, Emmett got the kids at work with him. Okay, he is having daddy daycare all up in Smokies, and the customers are not here for it. And the brother, he's trying to, basically take orders and things like that. Emmett is paying attention to what's going on in the kitchen. Honey, the baby ends up running around and he ends up falling and hurting himself. I think they said he broke his arm. So Emmett and Nook, they go into the waiting room. Keisha is in the room with the doctor. The doctor's gonna reset the baby's arm. And Nook basically makes a comment. He's like, "Do I need to worry about my son when he with you?" And Emmett was like, "Nah, my bad, I'm sorry." And they end up exchanging apologies because Emmett did kind of raise his voice at Nook a little bit, but nonetheless, they're sitting down, they're having a conversation, and Emmett, he brings up the fact that Tiff is pregnant because Emmett said it made him feel away. He was like, you kind of come to the conclusion that it's completely over with you and that person for a long time, even though him and Tiff had no dealings with each other anymore. He was just like, that kind of just put the nail in the coffin. And so when Nuck hears that Tiff is pregnant, that is more buyer's remorse, aka guilt, that is coming to surface, in his life right now because of what he did. So, honey, not only does Alicia move Keisha into the house, she basically tells Keisha that she will now be in charge of the cigar lounge. Like, girl, miss me with it. She just told you she was pregnant and you sending her off to work in the smoke infested building. Like, are you kidding me? Nonetheless, Victor offers his services to Tiff to kind of help her out, with the lounge and everything. And the way that he was looking at her, I was like, okay, what y'all not gonna do is hook Tiff up with Victor. Like, that's what y'all not gonna do. Okay. So Lene and her brother end up sitting down for dinner with the girlfriend. Okay, I do not know what Lala's name is on this show, so I'm just gonna refer to her as that Lala. So Lene sits down to dinner with her brother and Lala. Okay, and baby, once she bites into the food, she was just like,
You can stay.
so they have one of the meetings of men, which is one of the things I love about this show. I really appreciate the fact that they show men, black men, having conversations amongst each other and kind of just letting each other know what they are going through. You know, they're feeding off each other, giving each other advice, and just trying to be a support system for one another. So that is one of the things I absolutely love about this show. Nonetheless, honey, Emmett and his dad end up telling Lene's brother that they both done ran up on his girlfriend, and he was not ready for that tea at all. Okay. And Shad, of course, he's a little bit in his feelings because for whatever reason, even though Victor was joking with him, telling him that Alicia like him younger than him, Shad is feeling the way about Bakari all of a sudden being around, even though Alicia already told him, hey, he's my scholarship recipient. That's all it is. And, Shad is also concerned about the fact that Tiff is living there because he's like, okay, this is a full house. And Alicia already let him know, no, this is my house. Like, you are just a visitor, baby. And so Shad, I think he's kind of feeling a little bit like he doesn't really have a say so. And I'm like, you really don't. Okay. You really don't. And so while the fellas are having their meeting at the cigar lounge, the ladies decided to get their climax on and have a meeting in the ladies' room. Okay. But no, seriously. So the females, they decided, Jada, she told her husband, she's like, I'm going to start a female group where we're going to start meeting up. And they decided to call it the Sister Circle. And they're pretty much going to be checking in with one another, making sure everyone is okay, just being a listening ear. And in this moment, we got to see Gemma's dad, ex-girlfriend, let them know that, she and he decided to part ways because she wanted to have children and he does not. So they are going to start having these meetings more often per what Jada said. And it seems like everyone is here for it. And I am too. Okay. So Nuck decides that he is going to go pay Tiff a visit, okay, at the cigar lounge. And first thing Tiff said, I'm not giving you no money. Like, don't even come for me with that. And he was like, no, I don't want your money. I'm not here for that. Basically apologizing, well, not apologizing, but giving his condolences for what happened to Rob or whatever. And he mentions the baby. And she was like, who told you I was pregnant? And he was like, the streets be talking. She said, well, the streets don't know my business. Like, for real. Like, how do you know what's going on with me? But nonetheless, she's brushing Nuck off or whatever, and he ends up opening that door that she had an issue opening earlier in the episode with Victor when they were trying to figure out how to open his door. He knew how to get the door unlocked. And she was like, how did you know how to unlock the door? He was like, Duda had meetings back here, so he showed me how to, you know, unlock it. And she was like, oh, kind of looking at him like, whatever. And he basically lets Tiff know if you need anything, just holler at me or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, sir, she needed Rob. That's who she needed. She needed Rob. And you sit up here playing in Alicia face. And now you're about to start playing in Tiff face. And I am not here for it. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. But whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be a good situation. The fallout from Nuck's decision is not going to be good. I don't think it is. And so we have the pulpit pimp sitting here talking to his daughter. The daughter, she's feeling away after old boy got murked. And she basically lets her dad know that she does not want to be in Chicago anymore. So he suggests that she go stay with his mom in Arkansas, which I believe my fave is going to come into play for Lisha Rashad. Okay, because we did see her in the trailer for this season. So I assume that's who she is going to play. Felicia Rashad will be playing the pulpit pimp's mother. Okay, so she said she's going to be going to Arkansas. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that's what her role is going to be. Nonetheless, the dad is in agreement with her that maybe it is a good idea for her to get up out of the Shy. And we also have a moment where we see Maisa for a New York second. She basically lets Papa know that she is going to be moving to LA with Kev. Now, to me, again, it seems like they're wrapping up some of the characters, and this is just my opinion, but from what I'm observing, it seems like they are wrapping up some of the characters. So I don't know if Maisa is going to be gone for good, but it does appear, okay, that they are pretty much wrapping up some of these characters. So I'm wondering if this is going to be the final season of The Shy. So, because of the fallout that happened with Jake and the pastor's wife, honey, Charles suggests that he does the sermon for the following Sunday. So we get to see him in action. Okay, pulpit pimp number two. Okay. But he is preaching, and you know what they always say, like when you go to church and the pastor is giving the word, it seems like he's always talking to you. And we get to see the faces of everybody in the audience. And lo and behold, Nuck is definitely one of the attendees at the sermon. So I don't understand how this is going to play out. Like Nook, if you think about it, you got Emmett, you got Bakari, you got Tiff, because it seems like he's going to be trying to, lend a helping hand to her. It's just like it's just one big conundrum. Like he literally has created a situation, and I don't know how he's gonna dig himself out of it. And then you got to think about Keisha and him have a son together. So it's just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then like I'm thinking, what if Emmett start inviting Nook to the men's group? You know what I'm saying? And then people see a different side of him because he is really trying to find his way out of his guilt. You know what I'm saying? He literally is trying to find his way out of his guilt. And now that he knows that Tiff is pregnant, it's like all these things are just starting to, build up in him with him trying to, want to run to the church and things like that. But I'm like, okay, him and Emmett are seemingly building some type of relationship, for the sake of the kid. And it's just like, what if he does start inviting him to the men's group and then he starts to confide in them? Like, this could just go so many ways. And again, I am not clear. Does Bakari know that Alicia is Rob's mom? Because Bakari knows what happened to Rob. Like, it's just so many routes that this season could go with this storyline. I just honestly, I don't know how it's going to end, except it's not going to end good. And if they do see it for Nuck to where they can have forgiveness for him, is he worthy of forgiveness? Like, dude, you literally, oh my God, I don't know what he's gonna do, but I guess we shall see. We shall see. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this video today. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.